Hello and welcome into Pat's Latest. I'm your host, Mike Gambardella, and on today's episode, we get some info on one of the Patriots' Hall of Famers. We take a look at the kicking game and the issues the Pats have faced for really the past 5 years. The latest on Forged in Foxborough and a special look behind the scenes, and we take a look at how quickly Drake May can reach his potential. Before we get started, make sure you go down and subscribe for the channel. Get in the comments and let us know what you think about Drake May and his progression as a quarterback in the NFL and how quickly he can start playing at a potential Pro Bowl level consistently. Also, make sure you go down and give us a like if you like what you hear. And after this, go back and check out all our old episodes to get caught up on everything going on in Foxborough. We start today with some wonderful news on Randy Moss, who left the end of last season, missing the last 2 months of the NFL season as he was diagnosed with bile duct cancer. Some wonderful news as he is now expected to return to full duties on ESPN Sunday NFL Countdown. Yes, You Got Moss will make its triumphant return with Randy at the helm. Randy has been with ESPN since way back. It's going to be almost a decade with ESPN. He started back in 2016, and just wonderful news to hear that he's feeling well enough to return on air. Now, anyone who followed the Patriots through the 2010s and what he was able to do with Tom Brady, he will always hold a special place in our hearts. If not for the Giants, well, we won't go there, but again, what he meant to Foxborough, what he meant to Tom Brady, what he means to the Patriots, what he means to football in general, as not only a dynamic talent, but a guy who always had a flair for the dramatic and could run his mouth with the best of them. Eager to hear him back on pregame coverage for the NFL, and best of luck to Randy Moss. Also, looking at something important on the field for the New England Patriots, the kicking game. And yes, they took Andres Barragales in the 6th round in a very timely pick as they jumped right in front of the Baltimore Ravens, who would have been on the clock, and knowing that Justin Tucker now suspended for the first 10 games of the season, probably would have taken him there. So honestly, a great move by Elliott Wolf and the Patriots, but looking to solve something that has really been a true issue for, again, the past 5 years. Since moving on from Steven Gostowski back in 2020, the Patriots have really struggled with the kicking game. Their 84% field goal percentage success rate, is just 22nd in the NFL. And again, over this past 5-year span, a 92% point after attempt rate is just 27th according to ESPN research. And it doesn't just stop there. They're 20th on field goals of 40 yards or more at 73%, 18th on field goals at 50 yards or more at 66%, and 20th on field goals in the fourth quarter and overtime at 83%. And likely that is the most important one, as those clutch kicks become such an important factor down the stretch now in the NFL, where parity reigns supreme, and it's going to be these close one-score games and coming down to that last possession. Additionally, the Patriots are the only team in the NFL that have drafted 3 kickers since 2020. Yes, 3, as Borregales joins Chad Ryland and the little-known Justin Rohrwasser back in 2020. All were picked in the top 100 even. So the Patriots have tried to fix it through the draft, and really only 8 kickers since 2020 in 5 years of drafts now have been drafted in the top 100. Yes, 3 of those belong to the New England Patriots. This is something that they must get right here. They must be able to trust it. And again, the success of rookie kickers is always up for debate. That's why we're not even going to go into Borregales right now. I think it's let him play it out. He's looked good so far, and see what happens when you get into it. And if it doesn't look like he's going to be consistent, and by all accounts, it looks like he may right now, make the transition, because the kicking game is not something you can afford to put up to grabs, especially when it looks like this team could potentially challenge for a playoff spot in 2025. Additionally, the look behind the scenes continue, and if you have not seen Forged in Foxborough yet, I very much encourage you to do so after you finish this episode. The Patriots putting out its own YouTube show, and the first one came out a month ago, actually over at this point, and absolutely wonderful to see behind the scenes, see what Mike Vrabel is doing, what Elliott Wolf, what the dynamic is, how the players are reacting to a new head coach, how Vrabel is already interacting with draft picks from last year that weren't even his, with Caden Wallace. Again, this is something that Bill Belichick never would have done, and perhaps it's fair to question if Robert Kraft would have even been open to it. Now, opening the gates and letting his own PR team for Patriots.com be able to show everything that's going on and really makes for quote unquote appointment TV. But again, once it goes live, put it down in your calendar. July 18th, the second episode of Forged in Foxborough will be out, and that will come just about a week prior to the Patriots kicking off NFL training camp. So you'll get to see everything that happened probably behind the scenes at minicamp, what the coaches are thinking of many players as their development comes to fruition, and how they start to really roll out in the pecking order of this 53-man roster, which stands at 90 right now. Yes, you're essentially going to cut half of these guys to get down to who really makes up the Patriots roster at the end of the day. So again, those things coming up quickly, and it really is interesting to see behind the scenes. And if you're not able to watch it right away, don't worry. We'll have everything that goes on and all those looks behind the scenes for you right here, and letting you know what are the most important things and the big takeaways, what you need to know from Patriots minicamp and beyond. Also, with that mini camp, it really starts to bring up and really the crux of everything. We can talk about Vrabel. We can talk about the improved defense. We can talk about Stephon Diggs and the improved wide receiver core, what Travion Henderson's going to bring to the backfield, what Josh McDaniels is going to do for the offense overall. At the end of the day, the crux of it is Drake May. It will not go without him. And if he struggles, this team will struggle. I think because the defense is better, because the running game should be better, because the offensive line is better, this will not be a 4-win team. I think even with potentially seeing some struggles from Drake May, not to say that it will happen, but for a second-year quarterback, expect some up and downs, that this should at least be a 6-7 win team. Now, if Drake May can play at a starter level, at a 500 level, at a potentially knocking on a playoff door level, and that does include up and down, some chances to win some games, some chances to lose. This is a team that should be at 500, right? Should be around that 9-7 mark. 9-8 nowadays, sorry. But again, if Drake May can reach his ceiling in year 2, and that is asking a lot of quarterbacks in this day and age. Do you expect Caleb Williams to be able to do that next year? I think, again, that would be unfair for him. But what we're seeing is similar situations. Guys that have a ton of talent, guys that are going to have new head coaches in year 2, but guys that are going to have improved teams around him. If you had to pick a scenario right now, I think New England actually lines up to be a better situation than what Caleb Williams might have in Chicago right now. But what really matters is how quickly Drake May can digest what's going on in front of him, break down the defense, get his guys in the right spots, and make the right decision. Again, you saw that he had the higher touchdown to interception ratio last year, but only by a little. There were some mistakes. There were some questionable throws. There were times he was forced to do that because of the line in front of him, forced to rush out of the pocket. He can use his legs to be able to do that, but it doesn't always go his way, as we saw last year. Now, it's going to be important that he continues to progress in that, but what could start to keep a lid on that a little bit in year 2 is trying to understand a complex system with Josh McDaniels. Yes, I think in the long run, probably in a year or 2, Josh McDaniels' offense will completely suit Drake May, but he's going to have a lot on his plate, a lot on his shoulders in this offense to be able to identify, to be able to change plays, to be able to keep guys in the right spots. He's going to have to rely on veterans like Stephon Diggs, like Mac Hollins, like Morgan Moses to help him identify things, to keep things away from him pressure-wise, to be able to set him up to make the throws that we saw he could really do on those highlight level things. Again, the final question is, how quickly can he reach his ceiling? I think Drake May can do it very quickly. I think it would be unfair to say his ceiling could be reached in year 2 because it is that high. But I think you are looking at a quarterback who can play at a playoff level in year 2 at only half a year as a starter, because his ceiling is so high and because the team has improved around him. The flip side of that is what his floor is, and I think that is someone that doesn't make the right decision all the time, that tries to use his feet too much, that might be forcing things. That is the floor, and I don't see that as feasible in year two for Drake May. Not to say that it can't happen, but I think it is more likely to see him play at a playoff caliber level. If the rest of the team can also hold up that end of the bargain, you'll see the Patriots compete for a playoff spot in 2025. And if Drake May can truly make that jump, you're looking at a team that not only will find its way into the playoffs as a 7 or 6 seed, but really could be a game or two within the AFC East race with the Buffalo Bills. Yes, some high expectations for Drake May and company in year two, and Mike Vrabel's year one as the head coach here in New England, but we'll see how all of that shakes out as we are just 3 weeks away from training camp starting up for your New England Patriots. We're going to have everything for you right here on Pat's Latest, so make sure you go down in the comments and let us know what you think of this team and its expectations heading into the season and where you see it playing out. Again, make sure you go down, give us a subscribe, give us a like, go check out all of our old episodes, and keep in the comments to let us know what you want to see more of on this show. We're going to continue to have it all for you right here. Fight on, Foxborough.